Thank you so much for tuning into The Mirage. This is a trigger warning. Portions of this interview refer to the events that took place on September 11th, 2001. If you'd like to bypass this part of the interview, you can jump to 9 minutes and 30 seconds. Thank you again for listening.
My mom on the... I have to take the squeaky toy from her. Be right back. Sorry. No, thank you. So, season 3 started with me finding my voice, talking about all of the things that have made me who I am. And I love that we're about to bring this third season to a close by interviewing a person that I have looked up to and wanted to embody, and I've just consistently admired and adored, my Aunt Faith. So now this is a person that is very instrumental in me being who I am for a million reasons. And today we'll scratch the surface and talk about a few of those reasons and find out why she's so incredible. So thank you for wanting to be on the podcast.
Oh, it's such a nice place to be. I've been just kind of in awe at your skills and what you bring out in people. So I'm like, come on, I want to be on there. I want Ava to interview me and ask me all those great questions. You're good at what you do, my dear.
I appreciate it. Thank you. And then it's always so intimate, the fact that we are taking the time. I thank you for investing time, because I'm sure you have a million other things you could be doing. So the fact that we do get to just intimately sit and exchange and chat in that way, that's really, really meaningful. So very excited to just hash it all out. We're going to put it all on the table today. In terms of you being exactly who you are, let's start on the surface. Do you mind giving me just kind of a bullet point list, the degrees that you've obtained and the amount of time and hard work that you've put into your education and your career, as well as your extracurricular interests in terms of Egyptology being one of them, hence the beautiful background, traveling overall, everything that you've done as an entrepreneur with Prohibition pairings. So just a short list, and then we'll just slowly but surely dig into each thing.
Sure. So when I started, I feel like I've always just wanted to be educated. That comes from my mom, your me mom, just always reading. I think I devoured books as a kid. And that's how I knew that I wanted to keep continuing being educated. It had not much to do with anything else other than I just wanted to keep learning. And then, of course, my mom instilled in me, as a Black woman, education, something they tried to keep from you. You're going to go get it because they tried to keep it from you. So that kind of drives me too. I think I don't realize how much that drives me, because right now I do not have a PhD. Something in me is like, they should call you Dr. Alexander, just because I want to keep climbing that mountain, even if it's just because of that thing inside of me that says they tried to keep it from you. So go get all of it. So I graduated from Willingboro High School, and then I went to a county college at the time, even though I got accepted at other schools. I tried to stay in state, and I encourage people to stay in state. Save money, because education is ridiculously expensive right now, and nobody should be stuck, getting those huge giant loans just to be out of state. Same degree, where you go. So I started off with my associate's degree, because that's what you could get back then at a county college, and then I went to Rowan, and I started out with a criminal justice degree. I wanted to do something for youth that were adjudicated, youth that had already been wrapped up in that legal system somehow. And then I changed to special education, because I thought, why wait till they get wrapped up? Why don't I teach them and try to keep them from becoming, having that situation where they're encountering law enforcement because they're young, and then they get into the juvenile system and all that. So flipped it a little bit, used my credits in criminal justice, which kind of had a lot of psychology and stuff anyway. And flipped it into special ed. So I got my bachelor's from Rowan in special ed. And then I started teaching. I started teaching in 2001. September 11th was my first week of teaching. I was a brand new teacher, and that happened. Yeah, that's interesting. It's a whole nother story for a whole nother time. It was something. It was like trial by fire. I keep saying, if I could teach through this, I could teach through anything. I've edited that thought.
You were in your first week of teaching?
Yeah, it was so school started September 3rd or 5th or something like that. And then September 11th came. I wasn't even I didn't even know my way around the building that well. It was tough. I had subbed there before. I was a long-term sub for a little while before. So I kind of knew a little bit, but yeah, it was my first year teaching when September 11th happened. And I was teaching in Bergen County, and that's everyone in that area works in the city. We had hundreds of kids that had parents in the World Trade Center. They were at work while that was happening. So it was trial by fire. Trial by fire.
And then just to give that story a little bit more color, I did not know that. So now I'm empathetically connecting with the fact that when that happened, you were a teacher for your first week. So you were handling that type of pressure and stress. You had students with parents that were in those buildings.
I taught ESL, so my students didn't speak English and didn't understand what was happening. So I struggled with them to help them put it, like, to help give them facts without scaring them. Again, these students are from Japan, Korea, Mexico. They speak no English. That's why they're in my class. And they were very confused and very scared. And so that, and add to this very colorful, scary time that I was a newlywed. I had just gotten married the month before. And my husband was at work in the world. Like he stopped for breakfast every morning at Paine, which is in the basement of the World Trade Center. So at the time, I thought my husband was in the World Trade Center because it was like morning when all that was happening, and he's always there. His train line ran under the World Trade Center. That was the train that he was responsible for. I didn't see him till like 3:00 that morning. The next morning, he walked through the door.
I remember.
Yeah, we had to walk out of the city. We had to walk across the bridge to get home. So first year teaching, first year married. It was trial by fire, and I was like, I can handle it all. Then COVID came. And I was like,
I just remember being, how old was I? I was 9 or 10. And I remember that, isn't it funny how hazy it is and how you have to piece the memories together? I just remember, one, sitting in the big spacious living room. I remember my mom on the phone with every single person in our family. I just remember, like, Uncle Andre. Where's Uncle Andre? Do we know where he is yet? Do we know where he is yet? Do we know where he is yet? But
phones were all jammed up.
Yes. And at the age of 9 and 10 years old, not being able to connect with that, and now going through what I'm going through right now, like, whoa. Yes, I knew that we were scared and nervous that day for impactful reasons. I did not realize that you were going through all of those feelings.
It was rough. It was a rough time. But again, being so close to the city, it was hard for my school. So the high school that I taught at, huge, giant high school, and one of the students in the high school, I think she was a junior or a senior that year. I can't remember. It was the sister of, the Let's Roll guy. I'm so sorry. I feel like I shouldn't forget his name. He was the gentleman that took the plane down in PA, plane that crashed in PA. He jumped up and told everybody, let's roll. And he attacked the terrorists and caused the plane to go down because it was headed back towards like DC or Philly or somewhere to crash into some building. So he saved all his lives. But that was her older brother. So I can remember just like having so many people in that school building that were affected.
Todd Morgan Beamer. Does that sound familiar?
Beamer. That might be. Yeah. But it was very, because we were so close to the city. I'm not saying that didn't impact the rest of the nation. Of course it did. But because every day, I'm driving home, you can see the World Trade Centers from like the parking lot in the back of the school, because we were up in the mountains a bit. So we looked down on the city. It was rough. So that was like the beginning of my teaching career right there.
Wow.
Then,
was it a sign? It's like, I'm kidding.
Right. Like, So then we lived in North Jersey then, because my husband, of course, your uncle works in the city, he works in New York, but we moved south, and I started teaching down here, special ed teacher down here, and then went to go back to school to get my master's degree. So I have my MED in school counseling, and then I have some post credits that are in child counseling, family counseling, marital counseling. So it's like your postmaster's credits, not enough for a doctorate. I'm like in the middle somewhere.
Right.
So that's that. But
where do your trips to Egypt fit in? I know that you did take college courses in Egyptology as well.
I did. And just to audit them. Like I just felt like I was in a special situation because I'm right here, right across the bridge from Philly, and Philadelphia has one of the greatest institutions for learning Egyptology in the world. U of Penn is the top. I'm talking about people in Egypt that study Egyptology in Egypt at the University of Cairo come to U of Penn.
Wow.
They come to U of Penn because U of Penn has some amazing professors, and they have like their exhibit for Egyptology is really great. U of Penn Museum. If you ever want to go, I'll show you around.
Yes, I did not know this.
Like their instructors, their professors are tops in the field. So I I would audit classes just to be like, oh, I want to take a class with, you know, I'm so bad with names, Ava, but when the King Tut exhibit came to Philly years ago,
yes,
the curator of the King Tut exhibit was teaching class at U of Penn. So I was like,
wow.
what is in that class? Like, so I just like took the classes just to take them. They didn't go anywhere. There's no, I just took them because I wanted to learn from them. But most of what I learned about Egyptology, I started reading when I was little and just loved Egypt. Like and as a kid, I recognized that Egypt was African, even though they were telling us it was a Middle Eastern country. I was like, no, pretty sure it's continent of Africa. And my mom taught me that yes, the Egyptians were Black. Don't believe anything that you see with Elizabeth Taylor and her white face being Cleopatra. Although history probably does show that Cleopatra was not. She didn't look like African because that was the later part of Egypt when Egypt had been invaded and taken over a million times by people in the Middle Eastern world. But I always knew that the beginnings of Egypt, when we talk about who built those pyramids and who was pioneering all of the sciences, I knew that they were African people. So that like spurred me to learn more. So I've studied a lot on my own. I've taken some cultural classes that are run by cultural organizations out of Philly, and had some really good experiences, and traveled to Egypt with a cultural group. And then I took my husband back. So that was I think I went to Egypt in 2005 with a cultural group. And then I went with, I took Uncle Andre there in 2000. Wow, I can't remember. 2018, was it? I'm not sure. I gotta look, but it was a little bit ago. We're trying to go back. So I love Egypt. I feel like I want to teach it. If I could go back in time and have a degree in something, I would have had a degree in Egyptology. What does it mean if you don't want to keep chasing it and keep doing it? Like, education doesn't do that for me. I'm not saying that I'm not interested in education or that it's not a good field. It doesn't do what I need it to do. I don't want to go back. Like, that's why I don't have my PhD, because I don't want to go back to school and take a bunch of expensive classes on how to run a better school. No, I don't want to do it. So that's why I don't have my PhD, because I don't know what to get it in.
Other more fulfilling things that you'd rather spend your time and energy on?
More fulfilling things like studying Egyptology. Like, I would love, I do like business, not so much, like that I'd go back to school for it, or I want to have like a degree in it or anything like that. But I love business as it meets with people. Like, where business and people meet, getting that opportunity to like talk to people. I feel like business is a lot of psychology too, and I do love psychology. I do love like how people think, how people learn, how people heal, how people, like how your struggles make you. That's like part of psychology. If you have a struggle and you think of it one way, then you're going to be this kind of person. But if you have a struggle and you think of it another way, you're going to be a different kind of person. So I love like how people think and helping people like feel better. I know my business, I have a cigar business, a mobile cigar lounge, and people would think that doesn't really intersect, like that people part.
It does.
But it surely does, especially with my business. Like, we try to educate and talk. So people, it's important, but I feel like there's other stuff to it. Like, I just feel like I want to see the things that I read about. And I want to do the things that I've read about. And not because I'm a history buff, a lot of that relates to history. And then that makes me want to be involved in like political stuff too, because like I understand history. So I'm looking at what's going on in our world. And I'm like, hey, if you're a student of history, we've seen this before, but nobody's listening. So I'm interested in a lot of things, Ava.
Yes. Multifaceted, a woman of many hats, and she wears all of them like phenomenally. And I think that's one thing I always saw is I knew as a young girl, I saw the time that you dedicated to college, how long you were there, how hard you worked at it, what the end result was, attending your graduation from Wilmington University. And I also knew you personally and saw that you loved Egyptology, but that's not what she's studying. And, that you were such a fun daughter and aunt and sister, but you still separated that time to focus and be dedicated to your degree. You've always reached into these many different pots, and good things have come out of each one of them. Which is another reason why I'm excited for this interview, because we're going to get into exactly what you're built with, exactly how you're wired. And you said many keywords just now that I'm really excited. The keywords. Mentioned Jackie Creamer multiple times.
good. Yeah, I don't think I can talk about anything without mentioning.
Oh, yeah. Without mentioning Jackie or George, we're going to get into it. But the other keywords that still connect to your parents' struggle, the things that you've said about what me mom imparted.
Cool.
That
That woman.
woman is everything but black when you look at them pictures just now. Okay. And yet you were sure to explain. My mother told me that because they weren't going to give it to me, I am to go get it.
Mhm.
Tell me about that experience, about how you think that me mom was wired.
She was. She's
And
wired to understand this.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's funny too when you think back at like where she grew up and stuff. So my mom, your me mom, was from Pennsylvania, out there, like Pennsylvania Dutch. Our nan was from Wolmers. I can't even say it, Wolmersdorf.
Yes.
Yeah, I know she was born in that town, but like you don't think about being educated about Black rights and social issues when you come from there. So
Wilmersdorf, Pennsylvania.
Wilmersdorf, Pennsylvania, which we found out that there's a street in there. Mikey, your uncle Mikey went to visit Deppen Lane.
Mm-hmm.
Nan's maiden name was Deppen. That's her family name, and
Right.
her grandfather founded Wilmersdorf. I can't say it. I don't know why. The German in me just isn't coming through. Founded that town. He was the founder of that town. Last name Deppen. So that's our roots. So you don't really think of, like I said, Black social issues when you think of that part of the world. And but that's where mom came out of, and she tells stories about living in Allentown. And she was in Lancaster, living in Lancaster, growing up in Lancaster, and her best friend was a little Black girl, best friend. Like this was her best friend, and she lived on the Black side of town, and Lancaster was on the other side of the railroad tracks, because that's a real thing. When you hear people say they came from the wrong side of the tracks, that's the historical reference. It's true. Right. It's the Black side of the tracks. So she would go over there and visit her friend, and she'd get in trouble, like get a beating, like every day, because she would refuse to not go play with her friend, and she suffered butt beatings every day from her grandmom because she was going over there. So I feel like, I don't know, like that don't come from nowhere.
And that goes back to what we were saying. What are these genetics? Why no matter what
you're wired. I think you're wired to be who you are, even when you're little. If you pay attention, like I think you're trying to tell people who you are and who you're going to be, but sometimes things get in there and can divert that. But so that's me, mom, getting beatings to go hang out on the Black side of town. Then they came to Philly, and then I feel like that's different. You know what I mean? Like she was growing up in Philly, and Nan worked at the hospital and all that stuff. So I think her world expanded there. But as a kid, like my mom, she would tell me all the time, like we weren't mixed. We didn't walk around talking about how we were mixed and confused because we don't fit into the white part of the world, but we don't fit into the Black part either. We didn't have that. With none of that Holly Berry stuff, because that's what's wrong with her. We didn't have that. My mom was like, "You're Black. When you go into a store, they're gonna see a little Black girl or a little Black boy. So you're Black. So let's prep for this. You're gonna get as much education as you can. You're gonna learn to be educated and be smart, and you're gonna learn all the stuff that they're gonna throw at you, so you know how to dodge it and react differently. Like this is how it is." And I can remember real conversations about stuff like that. That they're gonna try to keep you from things, and it's your job is to find a way around and to do it without, like she just, I don't know, like she just understood it. Being married to a Black man, she's watching everything happen to my dad and having to maneuver to make sure we got it, even though it was happening. So my dad was clearly, they were, their lives were in danger because of my dad being Black. And, there are many, many stories about stuff like that. Your mom probably can remember a lot of it, whereas I wasn't born yet, like early 70s. But she had to navigate like danger to make sure her family was okay. So
literally,
like literal danger, life threatening, and then just navigate and try to keep us in good schools. Like the world wanted to make sure, a family like ours stayed in Camden. The world wants to make sure that you stay in the hood, in the ghetto, with the schools that, are poorly funded. But my mom was like, no. So she kept us in good neighborhoods. Like I always had a front yard and a backyard. And she struggled to do that. Like the lies that she had to tell, the way that, my dad wouldn't, be there when we signed the lease. There's a reason. Because if he was there when we signed the lease, we wouldn't be living in this house in Cherry Hill. So she struggled to make sure we were in the right places.
And
Not
what
that
I
they're right,
hear,
not that they're right because they're right, but just
right.
right because she wanted us to get the education and to be safe and to be able to go outside and not worry about things. And so yeah,
Hmm.
like she taught us that you're gonna have to learn to navigate this.
And what I'm piecing together for the first time is that she did these things without telling you. Act white, look white, be white, quick, act white, quick, straighten your
Oh
hair,
yeah.
quick,
Oh
talk
yeah,
to
no,
the.
no, we didn't do that.
And I had never put that together before.
Yeah, we
That
didn't.
she did share, this is what the struggle is, but she never said this is how you can avoid the struggle by pretending like you are not half of this thing, you
Yeah,
know?
like, oh no, we wasn't passing for nothing. And she never, I can remember watching movies with her. My mom's favorite movie, one of her favorite movies was that movie. Oh my gosh, what's it called? I'm so bad with names and titles. um, but it's a classic movie, black and white, and it's about, the name is on the tip of my tongue. It'll come to me. The woman in the movie is biracial, and her mom, who she adores and loves, she goes off to like live this fabulous Hollywood life, telling people that she's white. She passed, so she was passing successfully in the, I guess this was the 60s. She's passing, maybe the 50s. She's passing successfully. Her life is great, right? But her black mama is back home, and she loves her and misses her and all that stuff. So I remember as a kid, that was one of my mom's favorite movies. And that's, and like her crying when you're watching, because you cry. Oh, you cry.
Right. Yeah.
And her saying like, that's wrong. Like she deserves to cry. Feel for her, but she was wrong. You don't turn your back on the best part of yourself. Her mom, her black mother, was the best part of herself. So my mom, like, I guess that's like, she knew that being black was one of the best parts of ourselves. Like that was the best part of us. And she made sure we knew it, even though like I didn't even realize I was light skinned when I was a kid. I didn't know, like I didn't even think about that. And I was just like, yeah, we're black. Like it was so in us that I never realized that people would think that I wasn't. Sometimes Lynette and I, my sister Lynette and I, we talk about this all the time, that we'll look in the mirror and we'll be like, oh, how we get light skin? How did that happen? Because in our brain, we're not. Like we're walking out here, I'm thinking I'm just as brown as every other black person I know. Like we don't, it doesn't dawn on us. And I think that my mom walked around thinking she was brown too. She would look in the mirror and go, oh, right, I'm white.
Darn it.
Forgot. I'm walking around here, I forget. So it never like really dawned on us, this whole mixed idea. Like I didn't really start having ideas about that until people started giving me those ideas. Like when people would say stuff about my hair, and I would be like, well, I like your hair. And they'd be like, no, you got that good hair. And I was like, Mom, what's good hair? I know what good hair was. She never told me. What? My sister Lynette and I laugh all the time because I'm pretty sure, I don't know if she did this with your mom, because maybe like Lynette and I are 15 months apart. So we were like in certain things together. And I think these are the things that happen when you're together. If my mom caught us primping, that's what she called it, primping in the mirror, meaning just kind of checking yourself out, right? My mom would be like, get your ugly asses out that mirror. Like you ain't stop what you checking your ugly, go. Because she didn't want us being vain about our hair or anything. Like she did not want us to be vain.
I love that.
She'd be like, you checking your ugly? It's there, go by. And we'd be like, Dad, Mom. But no primping. You put your makeup on and you do your hair and then you walk away. But you're
done. You're not obsessing over it. You're not constantly anxious and worried about it.
Get your ugly ass to school, she would say.
That instills such a beautiful understanding.
I say all the time. I say all the time that I'm glad she said that. I don't want to get in there, get all hung up on the fact that like I don't want to look at myself that closely that I start to think that that's where my value comes from, or that I look better than somebody else. She'd be like, get your ugly behind right out of that mirror. You weren't allowed to print.
Amen. Oh my goodness.
I tell people that, like, she called you ugly? Yes, she did.
Yes, she did. And you didn't take it and believe that you were ugly. That's not into that statement.
It's just like, because I think my mom just did not want to raise girls, because she knew that the world was going to tell us that we were pretty just because we had light skin, that the world was going to tell us that we were pretty just because we had curly hair. In a black world, that's what was happening. That like we were like elevated or she didn't want us to think that we were better than someone whose hair doesn't look like this or whatever. And to this day, we don't.
Exactly.
What? Do you know how much time I spend in the sun in the summer just to try to get some brown? Like we want to be brown, and I don't think that this is the most beautiful hair on the planet. Most
Exactly.
beautiful hair on the planet is on the head of African people with more African roots than I got. So
Mhm.
I like my hair. I think it's great because it's mine.
Right.
But the good stuff, the beautiful stuff is that original stuff. And we were taught that. Oh
Exactly.
yeah. Don't go primping over your hair, ladies. That's what me mom was a mess.
Checking for your ugly. It's there. Don't worry. Goodbye.
It's
That is so funny. Oh, that's priceless.
a good
So,
lesson.
yes, yes. So we spoke a little bit about the struggles, the hardships that she had to go through just to make sure that your family was in the position that it was in as you were growing up. But then where does Pop Pop Cream of Wheat
Cream of
come
wheat.
into it? I'm just wondering the type of strength that he and his family also had, some of the things that were happening in Salem, New Jersey, you know, as he was growing up and becoming a young adult and all of that.
There's a lot of history there. There's a
Yeah.
lot of strength there. I feel like they don't make, and I still say this, and my husband, I believe, is a very strong Black man, and I adore him in
Yeah.
his strength, and it's a silent strength, but it's there. I know it's there. Um, my brothers, like, they have a strength that is, it's like uncommon. I do believe that my brothers have a strength, even though they're younger. They have a strength that's uncommon in the rest of the world, I think. And I think it comes from these creamer men that
Yes.
were like ridiculously strong. Like there's stuff that I can't imagine. And they not only went through it, but like overcame it
Yep.
and then passed it on to a generation that
Stronger. Yeah.
didn't even need it. Like back in their time, I'm talking like 30s and 40s, right? When Black men were being beat down on every angle and you couldn't even have a family and there was just so much happening, right? And you can take it even further back when Black men weren't even allowed to defend their women and defend their children, right? In slavery, you'd be killed or hung or whatever. So there's such a strength that comes out of being a Black male in history, in time.
Mhm.
But I look at like what my grandpa and even my dad and his brothers went through, and my great grandpa coming out of like Florida and stuff. I just feel like they went through so much that if that happened today, these people that we are calling men would fold. Like I just, there's something in our ancestors, our fathers, our grandfathers, and our great grandfathers, and all the people in between, those great uncles and stuff like that. There's
Mhm.
something that they have. It is I think, a God-given, ancestrally
Yeah.
given strength that the ancestors moved in them, because there's things that people, like I said, my own father, my grandmother, my grandfather on my dad's side, that these people, we would fold. Like this generation would just collapse
Mhm.
under that extreme pressure. So I just, strong's not the word. I mean, physically strong. Like there's stories that like my dad and my uncles could lift like a ton, and
Yeah.
like there was a stone block and it weighed a ton, and grandpa came and was like, move, and like lifted it up by himself, or crazy stuff like that. My grandpa used to tell a story that he ran from a bullet in World War II. He like ran and dodged the bullet, but he did do great things. Like I let him, like I can remember that story, and we would all laugh at him like, whatever, grandpa, you crazy. But he was a Black man in World War II, and he drove those big deuce and a half trucks. They're big,
Right.
giant 2.5-ton trucks that move. Either the trucks were used to move people, or they were like moving supplies. And they called it the Red Ball Express, and it was all African American soldiers at the time. My grandpa was one of those. He moved those big trucks filled with important equipment sometimes behind enemy lines. And he used to tell a story about how when they were behind enemy lines, and in World War II, we're meaning like he's like behind the lines, they're like doing these big pushes, these big battles would happen on these battlefronts, and they're on the enemy side trying to get supplies in. And they said it would be so scary and so life-threatening that these big convoys of these giant trucks, which probably make a lot of noise, they would be creeping through the woods, and the only way that you could see would be the truck in front of you would have a candle. There'd be some poor Black guy in the back of the truck holding the candle. That was his job. Don't let that candle go out, because if it goes out, the truck behind you is going to get lost. So that's how they drove through the night to deliver supplies. And that's serious. Like they kept the lines supplied. And so he's part of that. And so coming out of the war, just knowing that, that he did some incredible things, grandpa, just by being in the war. But then to just have to come home and fight to keep your family where it is. And it's just, like I said, we come from great greatness. Like it doesn't matter who you are, what you did. My grandpa, they were truck drivers and movers. There was a creamer moving business for a while. Like, okay, that to me, that's great. I love, that my family has a history of owning businesses, but their greatness came from just that they are existing and that they were surviving and pushing forward. Because that the times that they lived in, they needed ancestral strength, and I believe in that the ancestors move through all of us still, and they definitely were moving through our grandparents and parents.
I believe that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Got like 4 things I want to say next. I can't choose which one. Ancestors.
My ramble. Ancestors. Your mom had started to do some like ancestry stuff. I just got to go swab my cheek at this point. We got to go and look at that because the problem with like my mom told me we were Choctaw on her side, but unfortunately my mom didn't know a lot either. My mom didn't have contact with that side of her family. That would be her dad's side of the family. My mom didn't. She lost contact with her dad when she was only, I think there's a picture of her standing with her dad and she's like 3 or 4, and that was it. Like she lost contact with him.
This is the family that gave her and Uncle Eddie up. Correct me if I'm wrong.
So mom's dad, yes, that's Uncle Eddie's dad too. So when he disappeared, like literally disappeared, he robbed a train. He's a train robber. And there was a bunch of money, like back then, millions of dollars were taken from a train, and he disappeared. That's what happened. So he disappeared because he had to disappear because he was a train robber. So it's not like there's any connection. He straight up disappeared. We don't know if he later went to jail. I don't know.
No idea who, what, when, where, how.
I never looked. I never tried to see if like her dad ever appeared in like prison registry or anything like that. But she thinks that yeah, like he maybe got away and escaped and had to change his name and everything, whatever happens when you rob a train. So yeah, that would be Uncle Eddie and mom's dad. He's out of the picture. Nan's alone with the 2 kids. And I don't think there's any connection to his family. Like Nan, I think he and Nan, I'm trying to think if that's the wedding, if that's who she married in Destin. Because Nan got married, she remarried. That's where the name Bachman comes in. But where? I don't know. So there's a lot we don't know because he literally disappeared. His side of the family, my mom, your me mom, has no idea about. Except she told me she remembers that his mom, her dad's mom, lived on a reservation somewhere. And I was like, where, Mom? And she was like, somewhere down like south. I want to say she said like Oklahoma or something. I was little and not smart enough to write this crap down. I wish I could go backwards and just
Isn't it terrible? Let me get a pen out right now.
I hate it. I hate that we didn't write things down. So she said she knows that she lived on a reservation and Mom thought they were Choctaw, but then I'm like, you know how you can mix up words, especially names of nations that you don't understand. So Choctaw and Chickasaw, like they're both kind of down there together. And I'm like,
and me mom did talk like that too. I just thought of like Jackie Math, Jackie words.
One of them, Choctaw, Chickasaw.
Yes, I can hear her. Oh my gosh, that's funny.
But she said she remembers a reservation and she remembers a trailer, that she lived in a trailer, and that like at some point she visited her, like her dad took her to see her grandmother on his side. So faint memories, couldn't put much together. But yeah, the problem is too that I don't think we accurately can use DNA to pinpoint what native tribe we are, what native nation we're from, especially because in that area there was so much mixing, like with Black people. And so I feel like you swab your cheek and then it tells you that you're African American, that you're from somewhere in Africa. But I don't think we've developed the technology to help with Native American DNA, because first of all, it's old DNA. That's old DNA. Like I don't know how to do that. So I wish we could find out, but I think the secret is in records, like to check names and records. But yeah, I know that our roots are Native, and part of me, I'm not saying that I don't want to know. Like on Dad's side, we're Seminole because we're out of Pensacola, Florida. So I feel like there are very specific things that you do want to know. You want to know where their like where their burial grounds are. So you can go stand with your people. Like, I know, I would like to know, so I can go do that. Put my feet where they are. Pensacola feels like that to me. When I go to Pensacola, I feel like my feet are where they are. And we do have native grounds that are like, you can go. They're on the base down there. So, but on our mom's side, like, yeah, I don't know. I don't really know.
And you said that's on Pop-Pop's side.
Yeah, the Seminoles on my dad's side, so the black side of our family, have their roots in Florida, and the people in Florida, original people in Florida, in that part, the Panhandle, were Seminole Indians, and they were the ones that didn't give up their land. That the Seminoles were the ones that fought. They fought the American government for a very long time to stay Seminole Nation and to keep their land. And they also, Seminoles were the ones that protected, not that they're the only ones, a lot of the nations in the South protected Black people when Black people, Crowfoot did, Choctaw did. I know the Chickasaws are down there. They did the same thing. Blackfoot Indians protected runaway slaves. So if runaway slaves came into Florida, the Seminole would protect them. You couldn't come. I don't care that you are a slave catcher. Turn around, or we're going to fill you with something you don't want to be filled with, a bunch of arrows and whatever else we got. So they protected African Americans, and that's why even now, like, so many African American people trace themselves to Seminole roots down there in Florida.
So bringing it all together, speaking about the strength, the things that we come from, the things that are genetic that we may not even realize.
It's in there, though. It's in there.
Talking about your father's side of the family and then going back even further. That's where they come from. That's funny because you mentioned the war, and with the war stories, I'm like, whoa! And now we're going all the way back.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's a lot. The strength is like roots. The roots are deep. We don't even know where they're connecting to, but they know where they're connecting to in us.
Right.
We don't know. I don't know how deep those roots go, but it goes the other way. Those roots know where we are, and we just gotta listen and find it, and for them to guide us through those roots. They know where we are. We might not see their end because it's too deep, and the world has made it hard for us to understand all of that. But they know where we are. I know my ancestors from Africa know where I am. They know. They're connected. They got me. I may not have them because I can't get there. I can't see it because I was stolen from the continent and you erased all my history. But I know they see me, and I know that they're touching me through my roots. So every day they're there. I'm glad they are.
Butterflies in my stomach.
I get butterflies when I think about it too. I know that they're there, and I know that they're there. It's more than just like I believe it. Like it's real to me, like 100%, and it's real to anybody, whether they believe it or not. Your ancestors.
Right. Okay, so you don't believe it. They still out here protecting you, like, whether you like it or not.
They got you.
Wow, that was very powerful. In wanting to learn more about this just over the last several months.
Yeah, we do gotta. We'll dive into that. We gotta get in there.
Thinking about, and again, this will all correlate. Thinking about Papa John. It was just within the last few months that, a few moon phases and meditation time that I gave myself. One time, without thinking about it, I was like, let me think about all of my generational blessings. Everybody always talks about generational curses.
Right.
Yeah. And what I wanted to really think and pray on were the things that I know each of my grandparents and my ancestors gave me that are blessings that I'll continue on. This is thinking I've never really done before. It really did just come out of nowhere. So what you just said impacts me deeply because I've always been worried about how my energy is being sent, or like, can you hear from me? Can you show me a sign, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the fact that you just gave it a certain level of like depth, and you grounded the concept of, oh no, they're literally doing what they're existing to do. Like, this is why our ancestors are who they are. This is why they are protecting us and reaching into us and helping us and guiding us. There's nothing else for them to do now. They can't get on the computer and spend hours reading. They can't sit down and watch movies. They can't go, shopping at the mall for 5 hours. Grandma, shout out grandma. They are in this, they are in that place now, in this form,
doing what they do,
so that they can just do this. This is why they live their lives through to the point that they're, and I think
the whole point.
At a loss for words, because at the surface, I was just thinking about my grandparents and great-grandparents. I did think of Nan and Papa John and Nana Chris, knowing how those spirits impact me.
Yep. And they're still working for you. They're still.
So when you think about the roots running deep, like I'm a visual thinker. I'm
like, you don't know. There's a face of some woman or some man that you don't even know, that is somewhere that you've never been, that is like, do this, honey.
Hey, you.
You feel a little tug telling you something's right or something's wrong or something is good or something, like all those things. I think that's, and they're not just the ancestors that you know and remember and love. They're not just that, but they're there too. I know that they are. They're the closest ones to you, but they're the ones that are back there, I think, are more powerful too.
Right. And that's another thing. As I was envisioning that, it's like the people that we just lost more recently, it's kind of like, all right, they're about 10 feet in the little vision that I have, about 10 feet. And then going all the way back to the beginning of time, I love what you said, the people that were erased from our history, not knowing who they are and how we're connected to them. They were literally erased. They're about 3,400, you know what I mean? Like,
they're back there.
They're all the way down there.
But look, those are the big roots. If you think about a tree, the biggest roots are way down under. The newer parts are up top. The easy parts to get to, you just have to dig through a little dirt to see the top roots. But them roots that's way, way deep, those are the ones those are the big roots, the strong roots, the ones that houses. You ever see like tree roots that come up and will rip up like your back patio?
Houses, right. Street.
Tear up a street. Them roots will tear up a street. Them big roots will tear up a street. Those are the ones that we don't know, because we don't know them, like I said, but they know us, and they're moving mountains. They're moving mountains, and we don't even realize it, but they're moving mountains for us. And I know that for a fact.
Oh, it's powerful.
As factual as it can be in a belief. That's where that's
right.
Pretty much all I got down is fact. A lot of this other stuff I'm not sure about.
Right. These are the facts.
Yeah, some things I'm like, yeah. But that to me is as factual as a belief can get in my heart, that our ancestors move still. Yeah. For us. So it's a good thing. It's a good feeling. When you feel alone. When you feel alone, don't, because you have so much. Like we all have so much.
You took a lot of just like questions and places where I feel like I had blanks that needed to be filled in. And just by explaining, how deep a root goes, how strong a root is, and the fact that they are there for us specifically, that takes ways that I've been like kind of shaken up and displaced, and really just centers my thoughts on that. Thank you.
When I retire from being a school counselor and have my own counseling kind of, like I just want to be a private counselor to people. I can do marriage counseling, family counseling. That I want to do that. I'm thinking of like calling it like root therapy, like just kind of looking back and taking.
You just had a beta root therapy session right now, and I'm just like,
because I think a lot of people, like so much of religion, and I'm not saying you can do my root therapy and think about this no matter if you're Christian or Muslim, or it doesn't matter. You be Jewish, I don't care. Like, this is personal. This is between you and those people that came before you that have their hands on your shoulders, holding you up. So I thought about that, like that I really did want to like just make that how I help people, because I think part of what's wrong is that we don't know where we stand, and we don't know what we're doing, and we're lost. And it's like, and you don't feel connected, even in these times when everybody seems to be connected. You don't feel connected. Well, COVID's different, but I mean just in general, when we have access to each other, right? But you still don't feel connected. And I think that's what it is, because we're looking in the wrong place. Like, you connect to what's always there. Like, always, your roots are always there. Wherever you go, there they are. So I don't know. That's what I was thinking. Like, well, we'll get to that when I retire and have time.
I'm very excited for that.
I have to retire from my life.
Count me in. I'm there every step of the way. You have my unconditional love and support when this journey is embarked upon.
Like Ava Seenaron was a client.
Yes, I'm her first client. I'm here to give you my testimony.
Yeah, I think Ava, that will help very much. But so there's always something to do, Ava. There's always something to do. I tell you, like, I think we have to follow our interests.
Yes,
sometimes we really do. Follow our interests and follow where our heart tells us to go. And life's not supposed to be this hard either. I think chasing the dollar and all that stuff. It's hard. Right. It's hard for us creative people. Chasing the dollar never feels quite right.
And when you're doing that thing that fulfills you, it doesn't feel like chasing anymore. And the dollar is just like, hey, here I am. Don't worry. You didn't have to run me down. I'm right here.
You're doing something that works. So here it comes. But yeah, it's just hard. And I know for myself, like I said, if I could go back and do things a little differently, I would. I mean, not necessarily just to go back and get my degree in Egyptology. That would be way more expensive than the degrees that I have now. And I probably wouldn't be employed. Like it would be really hard to find a job if I had a degree as an Egyptologist. I'd probably, struggle. But I struggle now.
Right. So which struggle would you rather do? The one where you're studying and walking in what truly fulfills you?
Yeah.
Or the one where you're very stressed?
And because I feel like we're going to be stressed. Life is stress. We're going to be stressed. We're going to be working hard. There's not going to be a day that we're not working hard, no matter what. So I'm working hard as a school counselor. I'm working hard to try to, expand my cigar business. I'm working hard. I don't have a day off. So why didn't I do that and still be an Egyptologist? Because I didn't know. I didn't know that I would be working as hard as I am, taking the path that I took. I don't know. I think we just have to stop worrying about what the path is going to look like and just get on it and be happy that you're on that path. And you're going to work hard.
One meant for you, so things might go better than you think.
Yeah. And I also believe this too, because it spills into love too. I don't think that there is just one path. I don't believe that. Like, I don't believe that there's just one love for you either. I think that there's lots of paths that will lead you to where you're supposed to go. It's just that you have to recognize them and make sure you're not on the path that you're not supposed to be on. Because there are multiple paths, you could be like, oh, this feels right. But then it's going to come up here and it's going to turn, and you didn't realize it was going to turn because nobody can predict the future, but you're still going to get to where you are supposed to be. So I think there's lots of paths that'll get you to where you're supposed to be. There are also lots of paths that will take you away from where you're supposed to be.
Wow. Right.
And I think it goes for people too. So the person that you're supposed to marry, the man or the woman that you're supposed to marry, there are a few of them. I think they're out there, and the path to them could be, varied and different, but the end result is that person is the person for you. But there's also people that are not for you, and you can get on that path and be with a person that you're not meant to be with. But I don't believe in that singularity thing. I think life is too varied to say that there's only one person that you're meant to be with.
Too intricate.
It's too intricate. It's too many, and choice comes into it too. Like you can be with the person that you're meant to be with, and there could be 100 other people that you're meant to be with. But as long as you're choosing one of the ones that you're meant to be with, you're good. You're good.
You're on that path, yeah.
The path is multiple. The people are multiple, but the end is the same. The end should be what it is. You being happy, you growing, and you one day becoming an ancestor, so you can lead your people too. That's part of it, I think.
Right, with that same wisdom, the wisdom that you can only acquire because you took the right paths.
Yeah, and yeah, paths are interesting. And there's many of them. Just get on one and keep moving, and just keep moving and keep looking. Like, you just gotta keep looking, because the path will steer, and you got to know that might be the turn that you need to make. Like, oh, that's a turn. Is that going where I need to go? Maybe. Take the turn. You can turn.
And that comes with discernment and strength to know whether or not you're supposed to take that turn. And that's all the internal work that people should be making sure that they are doing. Do you hear all of this wisdom and insight and inspiration? If she had more time to walk on this path,
I might be a shaman. I'll become a shaman. I'll be like, look at that. I had all this time. I'm a shaman now.
I was about to say, she's running for president. Just let her run, please, because we'd all be okay if she did.
I'd rather be a shaman.
Indeed.
Andre says that all the time. He'll be like, why don't you just run for office? Because I all the time, I'm like, I don't know what these people are thinking. I'm always like, we need a revolution. And I'm like, the revolution has to start one day. We got to get there. This is not working. So we talk politics a lot. And he always says that. He's like, you should run for office. And I'm like, yeah, no. I'm not into that having to please everybody.
Yes.
Like, if you're a successful politician, you have to make everybody happy. And I can't do that. I'm not good at that.
That's a special type of stress right there too, being worried about what you're doing that's affecting how everybody feels all the time.
Right. And then you're doing something that is so right for whatever, and then you'll have this person saying it's wrong for this reason, simply because they don't agree with you. Like, it's
Right.
now you're wrong. And I'm like, no, I'm not wrong. You just don't like it, but I'm not wrong. Like, feed people. How about that? Let's just feed everybody. I don't care what your job is. I
Don't
don't
get
care
me
what
started.
you're hot. Food. We're going to give you food. So you don't have to worry about it. Food's going to be cheap. Food should not cost anything. Healthy food shouldn't cost anything. So let's do that. Now, that sounds like a good idea, right? Healthcare. Everybody needs healthcare. Just give it to everybody. We'll figure it out. Just give it to them. But look,
Yep.
all the arguments that come from just trying to take care of people. I'm like, no, I can't be in politics because I'll be like, y'all are evil.
Terrible. Exact. I was just
Y'all are
thinking
evil.
the word disgusting came to mind.
Yeah, and I can't. I'm like, I can't help disgusting evil people. I'm trying to help everybody, including your disgusting evil ass. I'm trying to help,
Right.
but you don't want it, so you're gonna lash out against me and call me names, and yeah, nope. Try to assassinate me. Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm gonna stay over here.
No,
I'll be a
thank
shaman.
you. I'll be
My
a
those
shaman.
that want to be helped.
I'll be a shaman.
But yeah, I think it's there's a lot to be worked on, and I think as an individual, just talking to individuals can do more than maybe being a politician.
It's
Like, you're
so
dealing
true.
with the masses, but if I can help one person today, how do I know exponentially that person isn't going to change the world eventually because he felt better about
So
himself and found the roots?
So true.
Works for me.
Yes. And that's, I mean, this podcast is small fries, but yes, that's all up and down and through the mission statement of
Yes.
doing these, having these conversations.
Yeah.
And that was a wonderful segue. I was thinking about you this morning, thinking about different things that, I might want to bring up, thinking about, the different things that we could talk about and wanting to tie it in with what this podcast stands for, what these conversations stand for. This podcast is here because of Papa John's influence on me as a young woman and everything that he's ever told me. Everything, right, the root,
They're reaching out.
Root, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And everything he's ever told me and the ways that he impacted me, the ways that he showed myself to myself, the way he reflected me.
Right.
And that reflection allowed me to grow confidently, not question who I am. That confidence inspired me to continue to learn about myself and the life around me and how it's impacting me. I can go on and on and on. And what I would love to hear from you is what types of connections you have had like that. What relationships you had growing up, whether they were, as a young girl or even maybe just recently, the things that have really spoken to your spirit and inspired you to truly walk confidently in exactly who you are.
So, and I do. I feel like we all have moments where even once we get to where we say we're confident and we are who we are, we all have moments still. I mean, I feel like it's so hard because I think I've everybody that I meet, everybody that's in my life, whether you're in my life positively or like however people always want to put, like that's a good thing or a bad thing. Like, I don't really look at stuff like that. Sometimes it's just, it is what it is. I feel like people like my dad. I think my dad, which people could say he's had negative effects on my life. I will say, yes, he has. He's had negative effects on my life. Those negative effects made me confident in who I am now. Like, if I didn't have a dad that made the mistakes that he did and did the things that he did and hurt me, hurt my family, I wouldn't be who I am. And I don't want to be anybody else. I don't want to be different right now. I like where I'm at. His mistakes. Now, do I, like there's definitely a distance between my dad and my dad no longer here anymore, but there's a distance between us still. But if he wasn't the person that he was, did I like the person that he was? Nope.
Right.
Nope, not at all. If he wasn't the person that he was, I wouldn't be here. My siblings wouldn't be here and they wouldn't be who they are. And I like how they are too. Do we have problems? Yes. Were some of them caused by him? Yup. I got stuff going on in my life. Your mom got stuff going on. Your uncles, your aunt, we all have things that relate back to our relationship to him.
Right.
But I wouldn't change it because I love who your mother is, and I love who my brothers are, like with their issues and with their struggles. I love them the way they are, so I wouldn't change who they are. So my dad, even though we had what some people call negative relationship, I like I said, did not like him as a person, as a human being, but nope, kind of needed him to be where I'm at. So that's a connection that it's an odd one maybe. But then like just my mother, I am my mother. I always knew I was my mother. I mean, I can remember being like 7, 8 years old, like, that's me. Like, I know, I think just like that woman, everything she did, I'll be like, yep, that'll be me one day. Like, I just had that frame of mind. I was a weird kid. I
And then
just,
fast forwarding, have all of those things proven to be true.
I can't even, sometimes I'm like,
Right.
where does this woman start? And
Okay, Jackie. All right, Jackie, got you.
I don't know Jackieing over here. That is a verb. It has become a verb, Jackieing. Your mom was Jackieing. Like, your aunt was Jackieing. So, good or bad, Jackieing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like I don't even, yeah, I can't even figure out where she ends and where I start. And I think that might help me, as much as it devastated me to lose my mom. And when I say devastated, like I can't even find the words to explain it. I think that's why I'm okay. Because I really do, like, I can't figure out where she ends and I start. So that means she's not really gone. Because if I can't figure out what part of me is me and what part of her, then dang, like she didn't go nowhere. She's right here. And I miss her every single day, every moment. I can think about her 1,000 times an hour, but I don't. But I think it helps me. It helps me because I know that she is me. Like, I really, really believe that woman. And I think your mom has that with Nan too. Like, Nan, and I see so much of my Nan in your mom. And my Nan was my lady too. Like, it was my mother and my Nan. They were my world. And then Michelle, your mom, because I remember as a little girl, your mom was.
That's a lot of beautiful, powerful, smart women right there. That's
like, I'm okay in my worst state.
You got all three of them together.
Tell you, Nan and your mom, like I've like if there's anybody but right behind your mom, pushing her or helping her or protecting her, whoever's right. Like, if somebody was whispering in that shaman's ear about her, it would be Nan. Nan is like, it's just all over your mom. But yeah, Nan was really important as a kid for me because I didn't have anybody else. It was my mom. We didn't have babysitters, and like my Aunt Ned and like all the uncles and aunts on my dad's side were there, and my grandmom on my dad's side was there. I have memories of my grandmom Adela, who I look like very much. But I think we didn't have that connection for me to call her. I think about her all the time. She influences my life. She's one of those ancestors that's behind me. I know that. And I admire her. I was too young to have that personal connection with her. I learned a lot about her through mom and through your mom. Like, when they talk about grandma, I feel something kind of like I know you have memories of Nan, but the more we talk about Nan, your connection to her gets better too. So like I feel like definitely Nan shaped me as far as like a person of the world, like how you present yourself and how you talk and how you perceive yourself, and how do you want others to perceive you? Then you have to be comfortable doing that. And she was tough. Nan used to walk around and smack me in the stomach if I didn't have my stomach sucked in all the time.
Wow. If you
all the time. She smacked me in my stomach. And I was like, Nan, I'm not in the Navy. That's how they did you in the Navy. You keep your posture correct and your stomach sucked in at all time. I was an adult before I ever stopped when I remember I was like, wait, what? I don't have to hold my stomach in anymore. Nan's not gonna come and smack me. Wow. Yeah, I'm like, I wish I kept that up because it keeps your stomach muscles in shape. But she's correct my
and she was in the Navy, correct?
She was in the Navy.
I just want to make sure everybody's getting this dose of where we come from and who these roots truly are.
Because our roots overlap a little bit. So Nan was stationed down in Florida. And when she was stationed in Florida in the Navy, that's where I think she was married again. And that's why she was married in Destin. Remember, I told you Pensacola is in that little panhandle of Florida, and right near Pensacola is Destin, and Nan got married in Destin. So like I love how like roots can kind of like mix up in different sides of the family. It's like they were even trying to get together back then.
Down there right now, like, hey, on your side, you cool with her doing this? All right.
I feel like the roots even tried to get together back then, just because they had to get together at some point. So, but there's so Nan, absolutely. Mom, I already discussed. I can't even separate her from myself. And then your mom, as a little girl, knowing that your mom she went to college early. And I remember knowing that, like, my sister, I just thought my sister was the smartest person on the planet. Like, hands down. Like, I would be that kid that would be in school as like a first grader arguing, my sister is way smarter than your sister.
Wow,
like when I thought of brilliant, I thought of my sister. Like, Michelle in my head was smart, your mom is stunningly beautiful. So when you're a little girl and your big sister is as pretty as your mother, you're just like, oh, and I didn't see her enough because our lives, she was, by the time I was like old enough to start formulating thoughts about that, she was gone. I remember the day that my sister left for college. I do remember that. And I just thought she was so smart. And I was like, I have to be smart like her. And I wanted to read what she was reading. I remember one time, like there was a textbook that she had. I swear it was like this big. And I think it was
probably about neuroscience.
Yeah. So I'm not even lying. This is true. I took one of her textbooks. It was a neuroscience textbook about like the brain and stuff like that. And I remember trying to read it. I'm like in second or third grade, and I took it to school for show and tell because it had this really cool. There was this really cool part where like they laid the clear images of the brain on top of each other in the middle of the book. So first you saw the skull.
Oh, that is so.
You know what I mean? Like they layered it, so then you can see the nerves. Then you see like it was all these different things.
And you took that to school for show and tell, and you were like, so.
And I was like, so neuroscience. My sister's gonna be a neurosurgeon. That means she's gonna operate on brains. And I just remember like showing it off and being like all proud of her on the school bus. This book was like this big. I'm looking at it. But I did, like, I just thought that you couldn't get smarter. You couldn't get prettier. You couldn't get like more, like she traveled the world. I was like, wow, I just want to be my sister. If I could just be my sister, I'd be good. And yeah, so like she influenced me, even though we weren't under the same roof. Like I said, by the time I started having these memories, my sister was older. But like, I just remember when she lived in Italy, like getting little packages from Italy. And I just was like, oh my God, like my sister sent us. She sent me a little jar of ashes. I had those ashes, little jar of ashes from Mount Etna on my nightstand, probably until I was definitely in high school. I don't know where the bottle of ashes went. I've lost it since high school. I don't know how I lose something like that. But I had, Mount Etna ashes just because my sister collected them for me. And I'm the same way now. I have bottles with Egyptian sand. I'm like, I got this one. The big pyramid.
You got me the Egyptian eyeliner.
I just love.
Yes, I value that the same way that you valued your ashes from Mount Etna. Yeah.
But yeah, so those are my three ladies for sure. Mom, Nan, your mom. And then I feel like when you take it out of family, I'm really strange in that way. I don't let people as close to me as I let family. I don't think I want anybody, like even my best friend. I have a best friend that I've known since 6th grade, love her, but she hasn't influenced me except for my love of New Edition and Brian McKnight.
Oh yes.
He influenced me strongly. We're a little bit obsessed since like 5th grade. But so I adore her. I adore her. I think she's perfect and I love her, but she doesn't, it's weird. Like I put up a wall. If you're not family, I don't want like a lot of influence coming
and
from
that. I don't want anyone to think that there's a negative connotation to that. We've had this conversation before.
It's how I work.
This is about the fact that we come from a family where there are a total of 6 siblings. My father, 5 siblings.
Mm-hmm.
And those siblings did not disperse and disconnect in the way that some other families do.
Right.
This way that we've been conditioned to, this is your brother, this is your sister, they are right next to you, they are under this roof, they are experiencing life the same way that you are to protect them, respect them, this and that, and help them. And this was our family upbringing. So when you mention your best friend, I understand. It's not that you're necessarily trying to block her out, but when you have sisters like Michelle and Lynette, you're kind of like, all right, Michelle, Lynette.
Yeah.
Do I need anybody? Do I need anybody
else?
Right.
And it comes from a need, and I've always had that. Like I never needed anybody else, and not that friendship comes from need, but like early on, I didn't care if I didn't have friends because I was like, I got these brothers and these sisters and this mama. Like I didn't need. And then when our family got bigger, and now I have nieces, like who do I choose? When this world opens up again and Corona is gone, who am I hanging out with? I'm hanging out with Ava and Ivana and Michelle.
Every single one of them. Every single one. We are going to flip out when we can hang out with each other safely again. I feel like maybe we should just buy a house together and make up for lost time, because
it's like, all right, we got to do this because we missed like 2 years now. But yeah, so I never felt the need to have friends. I was lucky, but I think that protected me too, because I wasn't one of these people out here getting hurt by friends, because I didn't care. Like, I'm not even kidding. If you walked up to me, even in that drama-filled middle school age, right, where everybody's like, I'm not your friend no more because you talking to her, right? I'll be like, okay.
I just pictured you walking home and looking at Aunt Lynette like, guess what? Such and such said she ain't my friend no more.
Like, and I might be sad because I don't want somebody to hurt. Like, yeah, I might be sad because I don't want you to hurt. Like, I would say, hey, friend, like, it's not like that. I love you.
I do something yeah.
But I wouldn't be like, what do I need to get you back? How can I do that? Like, I never played that. I never had to play that game because I really didn't care. If you were my friend and if you were bad for me, if I called you friend and you were bad for me, I could let you go. I wouldn't even cry about it. I'd just be like, you know what? Yeah, this ain't good for me. Like, you started to like be bad for me. Dismiss. I wish I could do that with men. Like, that's a different story. With men is a whole other thing. But with friends, I could let a friend go when, especially at that time where I feel like middle school, high school, where friends were like everything. They weren't my everything. I had good friends. And I think that's why I had 3 best friends. I've never been hurt by a friend. Never. I've never had a friend do anything to hurt me, because if you hurt me, I would be like, yeah, we're not friends. And that was it. Because I had sisters. I didn't need you anyway. Like, it was good for me to have siblings in that way. So I think if you don't have siblings, you're always, you're looking for somebody else. I didn't need nobody else.
Right.
So even with Tamia, like, she knows I love her. I adore her. It's not a blockage. She knows everything about me. Like, we're close. Like, we're intimately close, but it's something else that, like, I don't know. It's just different. And
my thought was to continue to shine positive light on that concept. It makes those friendships that much more beautiful when people are able to get that close to you. I was thinking of Dominique as you were speaking, you and Tamia, when the connection can grow to be that strong and people can be that intimate, with you in terms of your friendship. Then you're like, oh, dang, you love me as much as my sister does.
Right.
What?
Yeah. And that's one thing too. Like, I don't, like, she's not, I hope she knows this. I think she does know it, that, yeah, like, for me, because you're here because I want you here and because I love you, and not because I need you because you're doing anything for me or whatever. And I do. She's a great mother. Like, now I look at her and I'm like, wow, she's such an amazing human that I'm glad she's here. And she is. It's pretty special, because I count my friends on very few fingers. And I have gotten some new ones. Like, I've met some new friends through my lady cigar group that are in my corner in a way that I've never had as an adult, unless you were my sister or my brother.
That's amazing.
So I'm meeting new people that I do feel like I would do anything to help and support them too. So I feel like my idea of friendship is growing, and I'm 43. So, like, if I can learn about having new friends and learn how to love people, the lessons don't stop. So, but yeah, so I'm influenced. It's mostly family though. Just so many people that I look at, and even you, like, as I'm watching you do your thing, I'm like, gee, like, it was inspiring me, and I'm supposed to be like inspiring her, like keeping her going. And I'm like, wait, like, I draw a lot from you, Ava. Like, you make me, you make me want to do more and be better. Yeah, and that's good. Like, it's a good thing that you make me want to do more and be better.
I'm blown away by how cyclical and reflective that is, though, because you're seeing me do these things, and I have scripts. I can tell you, I have scripts written in my head of some of the conversations we've had. So I'm just over here like, well, you know what? I can do this, or I can think this way, or I can feel this way. Because of that one time, Aunt Faith and I were in the car, and she was talking to me about this experience she had, and she told me it's okay to be like this. Like, it's definitely.
You remember those things. Oh, that's scary and great at the same time. Please let me not steer this child wrong. Ever.
You did not. And that's what I mean.
Years ago.
Years ago. And it's crazy how reflective that is, and how it just keeps going and going and going.
It's funny how that happens, and how people are listening when you don't even know that you're influencing someone's mind, and you did. That's why it's important. That's why our words are important and our actions are important. Because everybody, not that I care about what everyone is doing, but the important people, the people that I love, the people that I'm here for, like, they're watching me, and my actions matter. And what I do matter. That's why, like, my marriage is important on a different level for that reason too.
Yeah.
Because I do think that, like, your marriage is up, like, it's for people to see too. Like, definitely it's mine. I love it. It's personal. It's my marriage, but other people see it, and you gotta show Black love in a good light. And that's
Oh, yes.
like,
And in an honest light as well. And
yeah,
a good
honest.
light, but also being real, keeping it real too.
Like this
This
fool
is
right here that
not
I'm married to? Like, are you serious? Like, oh my God. I don't know how he's still alive. I should have killed him a long time ago. But I love him. Is he perfect? No way in hell is he anywhere near perfect. Neither am I. Is our marriage perfect? Nope, because we're imperfect. But we've been married. It'll be 20 years in August. So 20 years in August. For me, like that feels like a long time. It's just crazy. Like 20 years.
I wanted to kind of round to a close by asking about
the business. I feel like I didn't talk about
prohibition. Right. And to tie it in, to try to make it as cohesive as possible. Speaking on what you saw your mother do, or both of your parents, I think.
Yeah. Well, kind of along for the ride.
So speaking on how you were inspired in terms of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
The fact that you did see your mother run successful businesses, and now here you are with Prohibition Pairings, making it happen. What you learned from her, what you saw her, everything though, the struggles of entrepreneurship, as well as the success that you were exposed to, and how you knew that growing up you were going to walk, and carry that on.
Even if I didn't want to, like there are times when I'm like, why am I a business owner? Why am I doing this? This is hard. It's Jackie. Jackie did this to me. It was a gift as a kid watching my mom. So my mom had a food truck back before food trucks were like and everybody had it. Yeah, now they're like, woo, it's the thing. No, back then they were just hard work, and like that's what it was. So my mom had a food truck, and I watched her get up really early every morning to prep because she did breakfast and lunch. I'm particularly in my mind, I'm thinking of the one time because she's had other food trucks, but when I was young and we lived in Salem, New Jersey, I was like second, third grade. I can remember her getting up really early to prep every day. And I was lucky enough to like sneak along and go to the island with her. The island is the nuclear plant in New Jersey. That was her. She was there for breakfast and lunch. And I would go with her and watch her interact with the people. And like, it's just a food truck, right? She just sells sandwiches, hoagies, whatever. Really? Like these people loved my mom. I could see her. She would just be talking to them. And I remember her, like I would like help like hand the food or take the money, whatever my job was. And I can remember her saying like, he's running a tab, just put it on the tab. Like my mom was just looking out for these guys who were working, busting their butt to the island, and they didn't get paid till Friday. So she would let them run a tab. And I was like, Now that, like, to me, that's where, remember when we talked about business and personal, like where they interact is where I love it the most. So that's where I saw it like interacting. But I knew it was hard work, and I knew that it was tiring, and I knew that it was long days. But then she taught me, she'd come home and we'd have like a stack of money, right? Because back then everything's cash, you weren't swiping cards. So you like had money, stacks of money. And I'm thinking, whoa, we're rich.
And she goes, no.
Stack of money. Both of us probably won. Stacks of money. And she would say, let's count it. So we'd count it out and we'd be like, wow. Now keep in mind, this is like 1982, 83. And I'm like, $1,500. Whoa, like blowing my little mind.
Right.
And she would go, okay, but this is how much we spent on gas to get to the island. And this is how much we spent. The food cost this much. This is how much we burned in gas because we had to keep the generator going, and and insurance. And she would, and then we were left with a little stack. Right. And I was like, okay, but it's still a stack. But it's still, so that's where, and I remember thinking like that feeling of going to do something that you thought of, that was yours every step of the way, from what it looked like, on what you served people, how you served it, what you did, what you said, did you allow somebody to run a tab, all of that she controlled. And at the end of the day, that little stack was hers, because she, from like beginning to end, from fruition to what it was hers. And I remember being like, that's kind of awesome.
Right.
And it bit me, and it never let go. And then I watched it later in my life. Yeah, you get bit. Your mom is bit. She knows. And it's hard because you can't forget what you know. I've tried. There have been times where I didn't have a side business, or like a side, people call them hustles now, right? Your side hustle. When I didn't have one, and I was like, wow, like got extra spare time. This spare time was amazing. And then something would bite me and it wouldn't let go. And I'd be like, no, I don't hear that. I mean, like, I don't hear that little voice telling me,
Right.
you can make money if you do this. Or Faith,
Right.
why don't you do this? Because nobody's doing this, and you could do
You
that.
can connect. You can connect with more people this way, doing this thing. Yes.
I'm like,
Yeah.
shut up, be quiet. And I ran from it for a long time. And then the idea for Prohibition Pairings came after my mom passed. And I think I just felt like part of that is her too. Like everything I do with this business, I asked her, like, Mom, should I do this? Like, Mom, should I buy a trolley? Do we need a trolley? Yes, we do, she said. And I went and bought a trolley. So yes, we need a
Wow.
trolley.
Right. And we'll explain the trolley. I know that sounds kind of silly now. Don't worry, we'll get there.
But yeah, we like every business decision I like bring to her, and I think like, Mom, what should I do with this? What should I do with that? So she definitely like inspired me to do that because I saw how it works. I saw the freedom that's there, but I also see the responsibility too. And I just like once you're bit, you can't walk away. And when your brain is set up, because I talked to my mom, like we would have conversations. I'm little, and we're talking about like marketing.
Right.
If I had to change the name of the truck, what do you think it should be? And I'm like, I don't know, Mom. Like, you really like cowboys. Could we do something so it's Western? And she's like, yeah. The truck did have a Western food theme. Like, she had like barbecue.
Conversations that you were having with her as a little girl.
Like all the little things. What should the menu look like? Like, how should we like write it? And like just all those little things that are fun that I still think are fun to this day. I love.
And everybody in the family is bit by the bug. It's so beautiful. I'm thinking
crazy.
about La La Land and just
like COVID, like spread to everybody.
Yes.
It's a good COVID.
I rebuke it. I rebuke the spread of COVID.
It's a good thing. Yeah. And that's where I learned it from. And she was still a great example of it, even later in her life when, she's older and she's still like her candle business.
Candles. I was thinking about that this morning.
If I had the strength to continue with candles, I would have so much money because her candles were she was ahead of the curve with her candles and everything. Like it was amazing. I think it was her most successful business. And at the time she was doing it by herself because I was married, living in North Jersey. I was starting to teach. I think she started it when I was at my first year teaching, and I couldn't dive into it to help her like I could have. And I'm like, if she could have just taken it to the next step, like gotten a shop or gotten a factory, like, oh my God, there'd be Jackie's candles everywhere. I still got them all over the house. But yeah, so she up until like even like shortly before she left us, like even she was always doing something different, like her paintings. And I was like, and like, and she just illustrated that to me, that it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. Your learning doesn't stop. What you do what you produce for the world doesn't stop. Even when you're older and your health isn't good. She was painting. My mom painted literally. I think she pumped out a painting a day.
Her jewelry. I remember like
jewelry. Her jewelry was beautiful.
It was.
So it doesn't stop. Like that's what I learned from my mom. It don't stop. So that's why like if I after retirement, it's not going to stop. Like actually, it's going to kick up. The world's going to get sick of seeing me when I'm old and tired. Right. And I know you know that you don't stop either, and your mom don't stop. Like it's in there. Yeah. So Prohibition Pairings was it was an idea that like I love to smoke cigars, and there aren't many women in the industry that that you can like see. I mean there are lots of women in the industry. They're just not like you don't notice them. I feel like the cigar industry is definitely male dominated.
Out by the men. Mm-hmm.
So we started mobile cigar business, and we also like bourbon and whiskey. I love rum, and we like to pair our cigars with the drinks that we like, and that's where Prohibition Pairings comes from. We named it Prohibition Pairings because I love that decadence of the 20s. I like the idea that alcohol was prohibited, but we found a way. And especially Black people in the 20s were very active in finding a way, like all those speakeasies. We still found a way to get our music. I like the jazz from the 20s. And we found a way to still like to enjoy ourselves and be like a little extra. And even when it was against the law, we were having parties and hanging out and listening to jazz. And cigar smoking is like that to me. Like it's decadent. It's kind of, you take your time to do it. And it's just like a thing. So we put the two together and wanted to be mobile so that our saying is hashtag bringing cigars to the people. So wherever there's people that want to smoke cigars, we can come and we can bring you cigars. And so that's what we do. We bring cigars to the people. And there's a woman at the front of it. My husband is right there too, but he likes that. It was my idea. And he likes that, that I'm so knowledgeable about cigars and what I like, and just kind of the culture, because it's definitely a culture.
Yes, that's powerful.
He,
And when
he,
you express the
he works for
hashtag,
me.
when you said something about the hashtag, you're not just bringing cigars to the people. One thing that's notable about prohibition pairings, you bring like you said, a decadent and classy atmosphere to whatever event that you're at as well. So you've worked very hard. I remember, the tent, but then how can we put lighting up the table? But then how can we set up, the jars that each cigar is in, and the sign. What do we want the sign to look like? I think you've gone above and beyond to know what atmosphere you're bringing to people and to
Yeah.
any event when you
I
come as well.
I feel like, and that's I like that part of it. Again, that's where business and people meet. Like, I know what I want when I sit down to smoke a cigar, and if I can get that in a mobile setting, then great. So yeah, I just want people to feel like they want to be right where they are. So,
and then that feeling of I didn't have, right. And that feeling of I didn't have to get up and go to the lounge. I could bring the lounge to me, and then still in your comfortable space, in your backyard, in the venue of your choice, you got dressed up and you had a certain air about you. You get to go sit in that lounge, and choose from an array of different cigars and talk to the amazing Faith Creamer Alexander about the choices of cigars available.
And that's where we are different. I feel like the point of that intersection with our business and with the people that we meet is where all the magic happens, where you get me, you get my husband, like you get service. We don't just set up and say, here's the cigars, enjoy. You get service. I'm talking to you about that cigar. I'm asking you what you're drinking, because what you're drinking might go great with this cigar right here instead of that one. And if you're a new smoker, I make sure you know what you're doing, so that you feel comfortable having your first cigar ever, and not like I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't want people inhaling and getting sick.
That was me.
Education. Here, this is what you do, honey. So a little education. I love to talk about where cigars come from and why that cigar tastes like that, and why what the wrapper tastes like and how much of that affects what you're smoking. Like, just there's so much to cigars. Cigars and wine are very similar. When people talk about wine, and some people that don't drink wine are like, well, why is there so much to say about wine? Because where the grapes were grown, what water they use, like everything affects wine. Same thing with cigars, and then developing your palate to pick that up is fun, and I'm still developing my palate. It's really interesting. So cigars are interesting. I love them, and it's nice to have a business where you're doing something that you love. It's really
that you love.
A lot of talking. We get to talk a lot. I mean, one of the best things about being at a cigar lounge are the conversations that happen. Like, just because people are sitting still for an hour or more, because it takes me an hour to smoke a good sized cigar. So for an hour, I'm just sitting there, and I got maybe a little drink in my hand, and all these people that I can talk to, and we all talk.
Are in the same position. They stopped and give themselves the opportunity to just sit, exhale, enjoy.
Conversations. I can't even tell you. They're the most. So, Ava, the conversations that you have with your family, right? When the sometimes it's strange stuff. Like, I can't get together with my brothers and sisters without talking about aliens or
the pyramids and
whatever, spirituality. Like, we talk about heavy stuff. I've never had those kinds of conversations anywhere outside of my family, except in the cigar lounge. You meet some some people that want to talk about things like that. So we've had some interesting conversations. I mean, from politics to religion, like you can cover that in a cigar lounge because we're respectful and everybody's good with that. And then the joking that happens in a cigar, like, I swear I leave laughing so hard.
You just busting on everybody. Is that what happens?
We'll be like, look at his shoes. No, we don't do that. Okay. It depends on what lounge I'm at. But we connect even with strangers. You walk out of a cigar lounge and you just learn something about somebody because you sat with them for an hour, or you don't want to talk and you just chill, and that's fine too. So a cigar lounge is great, and that's what we're doing. We're trying to replicate that experience at a cigar lounge. You get somebody that's taking care of you, and you're smoking, and you meet new people. So that's what we do, and our trolley helps with that. Our little trolley that we're working on, and
out trolley that
to roll her out.
Final product of that.
When COVID just needs to die down a bit, and so it's a cigar lounge on wheels, and we bring it to you, and it's a beautiful classic Boyertown trolley. I believe it's 1972 is when it was built, so it's classic. It looks like a streetcar from New Orleans, and I love it. I think she's pretty. I think she's cute. So yeah, that's
So
what's
having an
new.
experience like that at a wedding reception with that decadent, classy, old school theme, that 1920s theme,
It is. It's very classy. It's decadent. It's kind of like I just feel like it adds to whatever you're trying to do. If your wedding is casual, all right, then throw in a cigar trolley. But if it's fancy, it works with it too. If you have this beautiful wedding that everyone looks astonishing, like, hey, come on in the trolley, and we look great in here too.
I can't wait to see how the lighting, like the string lights that you used for what you had before the trolley, and then having that same style of string light either inside or outside, the windows, the fact that you have like the open air space, man, it is gorgeous.
So it works. We are gonna I feel like the idea is good. We just have to put it into action. And COVID just slowed us down just because, the amount of people that I feel safe, having together in a trolley, even though we have it's open air, the windows, like it's totally open. I still, feel like we have to be careful. I want to model like being careful. I don't ever want to bring people together and it be questionable. So just trying to be responsible, but can't wait until we can get out there and show everybody the trolley and enjoy our season. Because again, we're an outdoor mobile cigar lounge, so weather is part of our season. So as soon as the weather breaks, hopefully COVID gets itself in check. Because Lord knows the president wasn't trying to get it in check, but with Biden in office, maybe it'll be different.
I agree. I hope so.
Good things coming, Ava. Good things coming.
I'm ready for 2021 summer. Yes, please.
Yeah. We'll get there. I was just talking about that with a friend of mine. Just like so many people are dying to travel, like just to get out of Dodge, and a lot of people are making plans for the summer. I know we're going to be on the
all over the place. Yeah,
we're on the vineyard in August, and I'm just hoping that that COVID is good so that we can do that.
Yeah, I think people will master the art of a safe and outdoor event or outing.
Yeah, it can be safe. So I'm looking forward to, even if it's just a little bit, like I said, if we just have to be outside and be safe, I'll just be glad to do something. Like I said, we have a plan to be on the vineyard in August, and like getting up to Martha's Vineyard is not easy. Like it's a lot of work just trying to get there because you can't get in unless you're on this little steamship. So we have to book everything in advance, and I would hate to book it all and then it not pan out, or you rent the house and then something comes up. So I'm just hoping that by the summertime we're good to go with certain things, because
everything will be. Yeah,
we're getting there. So we shall see.
So if from this conversation you did not get inspired by the concept of knowing that there are multiple right paths that you can step on, doing what's necessary internally to be sure that you are on the right path, being ready to have to make some turns and loop-de-loops if necessary, I think that everything that you've given to us in this conversation has been impactful. And just wanting to know, especially now that we've spoken about you being an entrepreneur, you having prohibition pairings, what are some of the hardships? What are some of the U-turns or the sharp turns and things like that a person may have to make when owning a business and having the strength and the courage to carry on, knowing that it's the right path?
It is. There's lots of twists and turns, and you just have to kind of be steadfast and not judge your progress on anybody else's progress. That's something I fight with. I'm still, working on that myself. But just to know that, like, to trust your business model, like trust what you're trying to do, whatever it is. Trust that you thought of that idea and that there's a place for it. And you just have to find that place sometimes and be able to. I know we all talked about pivoting. Everybody had to pivot in COVID. But I think small business owners are pivoting all the time. COVID just was a big example of how we had to pivot, how the whole world seemed to have to pivot. But we have to pivot all the time. When you're a small business owner, every move you make feels larger because you're smaller. So everything counts. Everything matters. To a small business owner, every sale is an important sale. If you're a big business, they don't care about, if one sale or two sales, but every sale to a small business owner matters. So we're always constantly moving. And I guess that's just be okay with change. If it doesn't work, okay, scrap it and we'll do something else. If that product is selling, okay, scrap it.
Yes, and don't sit inside of a feeling of defeat just because of that.
You didn't lose. You just misjudged that, or the public is misjudging what you're giving. So just figure that out. Sit for a second. Don't get upset. You're still you're still in the game. It's just, I mean, I've had businesses that didn't succeed. We had a transportation business that I got, like, it was open and
Mhm.
and it just didn't work because it just couldn't do. So we walked away from it. That's not a failure. I learned a lot from that.
Yes.
And I learned a lot about, like, just being resilient. So if your lesson is that you just learned how to it takes a lot to call it quits. I could have hung on with Regal Transportation for a long time and lost more money and got disparaged and got upset. But I learned that it's okay to say, wait a minute, this isn't what I need to be doing anyway, because if it was, then it would be working, and just step back. So resilient, don't be afraid to change. That's, to me, that's what all small businesses that are working and are successful have done. They've just changed when they needed to, COVID or not. But you might need to change with the season because things are different in the winter than they are in the spring. That's how our business is. Like, warm months are when we're really busy and active. But then I was like, well, what do we do in the winter months? Change, pivot. I need a trolley that has heat.
Right.
That's where I had to change.
Yeah, and to go along with the analogy of these paths that people are on, traveling on, and the path being right or wrong. As you were explaining everything just now, I thought about that voice that the GPS has, and when it says recalculating or rerouting.
Yeah, we reroute.
Yes, and what you just said to me, that's a skill, that's a tool to be sharpened. Sharpen the tool that is rerouting and doing it gracefully and giving yourself grace to reroute when things are not necessarily going in the right direction.
Yeah, give yourself that grace. You're right. I feel like so many of us don't do that, especially those of us with like an entrepreneur spirit, because usually we're kind of like those people that are like you got to do this.
Real anxious. Like you said, everything matters. Yeah.
Everything matters, and your eye is on all of it, right? But then, so our naturally, I think our personalities make it hard to do that. But just be okay with it, and it's a challenge. It's like a new thing that you're creating right there at that moment. Like, all right, so I need to make a little adjustment here, and now make the adjustment, and now I get to push forward in a different direction. You're never bored. I promise you that if you're bored and you're an entrepreneur, you're doing something wrong. You have a business and it's yours, and your name is on that business certificate or on that LLC, and you're bored, you're doing it wrong. Because why would you be bored? Go do something new. Go figure out something different. So
build, brand, grow, extend, reach people, communicate. Yes.
There's so much to do. There's so much that you can do. And that's one of the reasons why I think I have an idea of owning my own business, because I can decide that I want to add this, change that. I'm all for entrepreneurship. I think that there are things in this country that could be done that could make that easier, because it's hard to be an entrepreneur, but making small business loans easier to access. Hopefully we're getting in that direction. So I don't know. It's a good time to be in business or thinking about being in business for yourself.
Amen.
Amen.
You are the most beautiful spirit ever. You just brought the third season of the Mirage podcast to a phenomenal close. I'm over here like, I feel like this is my first root therapy session. I'm coming back for another after this.
I'll be like, Ava, being around as a client. One day we're gonna get this going. So, yeah, great. Thank you for making this space for people, Ava. Your space is an important space. The Mirage Pod does some good things for individuals. You get inspired. Everybody watching gets inspired. The person you're talking to gets inspired. Like, because I'm inspired. I feel really good today just because we had this conversation.
And it's gonna carry on. There was so much about it to continue to think on and grow through. So
we'll do a part 2 when we have researched some of our ancestry a little better, because we do. I got to work on that. We got to get, and your mom's good at that too. You got to get her brain involved in this too. So yeah, we could do part 2. Just, hey, let's build on Ava's ancestry. We can,
the possibilities are endless. Yes, I'm here for that.
And you can make sure you keep in touch with your shaman.
I will. And thank you. Seriously, you are such a phenomenal counselor, but because you are so phenomenal, that just means you have many things on your plate that you are balancing and being great at. I really appreciate the time that you invested.
You are welcome. It was so much fun though. Like I that time flew, and I hope, like I said, I hope it wasn't too crazy. I know I'm hard to put in a, contain. I'm hard to contain. I go all over, but it was a really well invested 2.5 hours.
I agree. Thank you.
All right, baby. So I
love you so much.
I love you too, sweetheart. This is great. You keep up the good work. You're gonna have many more seasons of good stuff.
Thank you.
All right, baby.